give we some background too for how this our own country Ambazonia it become about for miss the opportunity for independence, outright independence, so that it go educate some of we were minds them for this, for taking any kind of position for here in the first place. So any country where it be the lean towards communism, they be the fight them and reject them, prevent them from getting benefits them for the international relations market what I talked about earlier. Endely them, funcha them, they be being friends them too for all Russia, Cuba, where they be through Kwame Nkrumah, where it will be the fight for semi-Africa get that liberation, and it be the look for allies and some of these people then they be come together as allies and for talk. So okay, since as if we support we will support one, then we will get our own bloc. A lot of African countries and they be lean towards that communism because country people, fellow Ambazonians, at the salute una. My name is Comrade Silas at Take 4. At the throw 21 gun salute for all Ambazonians, them for ground 0, ground 1, and all the other Ambazonians already be scattered as refugees across the globe, and for which we would call and say the diaspora. So today it don't be a while away another can bring any story for video like this one, but a day the push for a struggle for my own way every time I get the chance. So today I want talk on a particular topic where it don't be for the Ambazonian social space. When I know say this struggle now all or 8 million of we would contribute. So anytime where you get something for talk, put your opinion out there, make somebody a listener, because way to way you talk it just be that key where they unlock a particular door. So I encourage every Ambazonian for express their freedom of speech, association and expression the way they deem fit, all following the course of our liberation, and respect opinions and when they differ with anybody. So this story where I want to talk today, it get to do with some story where no be only Ambazonians that story. Actually, this story they like foreign news, but not foreign news for international relations. We mean international relations, say the whole world where it interact. That means say Ambazonian too as another part of this world be concerned for this topic where I get them for talk today. This topic it be about the ongoing fight where President Putin for Russia don't attack Ukraine, and the whole world it fear say this fight if we bring third world war, and plenty people then they don't struggle for choose side, and people they comment, so people they really just want to talk say this way they happen. So how it concern Ambazonia, so one they want to know how it concern the rest of the world, and which way this fight if we bring them. When I know say back in the days, world war they don't start just by small conflict them like this one, and as our own country today at war, it be just be but normal. So make we also look at how a war that happen for other places and observe which way they happen for there, and how which we learn from there, and how that war for there it affect we for this side. But the main reason we are the one to talk for we today, not because so plenty Ambazonians them they don't talk plenty on the issue of which side Ambazonia get for support or belong as far as this Putin war for Ukraine it be concerned. Una sabi say this war don't divide the world. Some countries they support Russia for attack Ukraine. Now so for the past more than almost 2 weeks, Ukraine they don't be bombarded by Russia, and the whole world don't center their attention for this. Some other people they ask and say, but only for 10-15 days the whole world they talk about Ukraine, like say our own way to happen for 5 years, it no get no problem. And then some of our people too, they look and say maybe if they support some side for this war, they go get some advantage. So my discussion for this evening now for ask and say any advantage it did for Ambazonia, especially as international relations. We're talking about how a nation they meet up, they discuss, they interact. Any advantage there for Ambazonia for join or support one side or the other for this fight. This fight, from my own understanding, not just left over for which way they call them back in the days, a Cold War with the former Soviet Union and the United States and its allies. They be struggle, say they know one communism. I know say the Soviet Union being a communist expression, and all the West and America with their capitalist ideology, they be the conflict. Putin is still a firm believer of the ideas of the past with Soviet Union behold them, and like the way they be destroyed the Soviet Union. So a mission of a try for re-establish which way they be lost them during that Soviet Union. A very long time. The other countries them they don't where they be for inside Soviet Union. They don't separate from the Soviet Union, and Russia don't remain when they lead the Soviet Union that time. Russia today as a country. But this Cold War will always be between Russia and America, particularly all the way now nuclear power. Them nuclear power means wait to see they get some very big bomb where if they aim one, now weapons of mass destruction actually. Where if they throw one of that bomb, them plenty people will die. Plenty people will die. So these two power them they call it nuclear power, and when they get problem, people they fear plenty because they die fit too much. Now for this situation where Russia and Russia don't attack Ukraine, America they support Ukraine, and America they pump in plenty weapons and money for inside Ukraine for semi Ukraine they can fight Russia. Ukraine they even cry say make America come for inside they can help them for fight this fight. But America to look at the consequences and for joining the fight physically, the fears they will cause Third World War. Now, for Ambazonians and we hear they talk say which side Ambazonia is supposed to take. For this issue for international relations, discussion for interest because international relations now market. Na marketplace for country, then a place where country that they go for they go see wait I need them, wait you feel give me where you will give me the thing for how much. So any man they go for that international relations for go find something for itself. Wait Ambazonia feel find them for inside this international market. This market which Ambazonia they feel buy them for this discussion where they go on for the. I want just always give we some perspective, say for look at our own interests for inside here we must be very careful, and for make sure say we look at the side where it be most likely for benefit we wait fit benefit we for inside all this fight. And we must also establish say this so as a revolutionary state, a revolutionary movement where would advocate for justice, we cry for the suffering of our people. We not fit take any position where a advocate for suffering again for another country, whether not Russia, Ukraine, or any other people, because we people the way we fight against injustice, human rights abuses them anywhere for the world where it occur. So the position where we want to take them, it must be strategic. Wait to be the thing where it will benefit you if you talk say you support Russia, and wait to be the thing where it will benefit you if you talk say you support Ukraine. So I want to give you some background too for how this our own country Ambazonia it become about for miss the opportunity for independence outright independence, so that it go educate some of we our minds for this for taking any kind of position for here in the first place. back in the days when we will be fight for our independence, this Cold War between America and Russia, EBD, and America and other Western powers, the way not them be world leaders, till today they still be world leaders, say this so that if you make things happen, and then be make things happen the way it be happen. So what country the way they don't want to give we independence, white people don't want give we independence back in the days, and our forefathers they will make effort for fight for any person where the EBF advocate for their freedom, but the people that will control world power they will be different. And the idea of communism, so that idea of communism being an idea where whether you like it or not, the vast majority of power brokers for the world, they don't reject that idea of communism. Of course, tough nations like Russia and China with the military might where they already get them, where some of the other countries, whether they like it or not, they don't get the power for maintain their own ideology. They will keep their ideology, but the vast majority of power brokers for the world, they will reject those ideas for communism, and they will fight them with all which way they get them. So any country where EBD lean towards communism, they be fight them and reject them, prevent them from getting benefits for the international relations market what I talked about earlier. So when I remember say, oh, endely them funcha them, they will be friends them too for all Russia, Cuba, where they be through Kwame Nkrumah, where it will be the fight for semi-Africa get that liberation, and it be the look for allies, and some of these people then they will come together as allies and for talk. So okay, since as if we support, we will support one, then we will get our own bloc. A lot of those early African independent states, they will get plenty ties with communism and other social ideologies, the way America and the other big powers they will fight against, where today now still then they control the world. So when they be fear, say they so funcha with Nkrumah, their ties with communists, it go increase communist power around the world. Now, one of the big reasons in that way, other countries like United States and the UK, they be reluctant for fight for a full give we outright independence. Then for go talk some will get independence by joining La Republic or joining Nigeria, so that they go still get some kind of eye or make sure they make all this Russia or China ideology, they may not take over we. That fight still there till today. And when you do one go join fight, you get for make sure say the side where you join them, the side where if you win. So when we talk about this international question for Russia versus Ukraine, at this moment, it not give we any benefit for take sides. It not give we any benefit for take sides as people where they under subjugation. Just as for some region, therefore, inside Ukraine, where the Ukrainian government be the maltreat them too, just as way La Republic to the maltreat with. But that one a different story because that one a part of Ukraine. But their people their government be the suppress them because they interact with Russia. So in this case, we as people the way they under subjugation will get the responsibility for support all the people the way they under subjugation at this time. And all the people they under subjugation at this time, now the people that will get for support them. And the people will go for condemn all forms of aggression, whether an aggression where it come out from Russia to Ukraine, because at this point now Ukraine they get refugee them. Now Ukraine people then they die. And now the condemnation that we give for condemn the injustice, condemn the war, condemn all these killings, just as we would condemn our own them. That's saying that the same thing that way we to the advocate them. We don't know why we Russia, we no one care why we Russia they attack them, but we give for condemn the killing. Say so if Russia enter for different country, they kill people in that country, that one be wrong. Whatever be Russia grievances, international system and they in place where they way we too the advocates or one follow that international channel and for get our own place. Russia then to as nations where they already be responsible and they get the power for push even their diplomacy they get for take that diplomatic actions. Same with the United States, the way they pump now more money for the use Ukraine, because now wait that way it happen. America they actually just use Ukraine for fight Russia because they no one directly fight Russia. But these actions and so things that we need for the condemn them. If we see the hypocrisy for both sides, so as we they always talk, we say both sides should cease fire. I think now the time this for we for tell America, tell Ukraine, tell Russia, to make the ceasefire and then talk. Because at the end of the day, all this fighting, it will end for a talk. The same thing with they don't advocate now our position, now we forget them. Any attempt for talk say so this side na your side, the other side no be your side, na a miscalculation on our part. So now our position also for talk which we feel, so that any person will represent Ambazonia in any way for out there, it will know which way the people of Ambazonia they actually stand for. So we'll get plenty students for inside Ukraine where they don't become too more refugees. They will run probably a war from Ambazonia where it occupy and they commit genocide on them. Try ways they reach for Ukraine. Now Russia don't attack Ukraine. They still carry that thing and they run, they scatter all over Europe. We know will continue for be refugees and for the rest of our lives. Now time they so also for call out any man where it commit crimes and any man where it occupy a people against their will. Say this so now the time don't come for responsibility. So the time don't come for every person for take their responsibility and act like mature and civilized people them for solve problems. The international community it don't feel warfully for address plenty crises, particularly the United Nations. They never do their job as the body where the rest of the world they look up to. And as a matter of fact, so one thing we me I go encourage Ambazonians to do now to use this opportunity, say because the international community they don't show we say this. So when it concern white man, when white man they die, they take us seriously. When we black people they die, they don't care. It won't be the first time, but another opportunity. So our responsibility during this time for the media now for show them say this so una not be fair, una be biased. Take all the opportunity for the mommy the way they don't die for Ambazonia. When you hear any man can start tell you say what you think about Ukraine, tell you say well you sympathize with the people for Ukraine, but what about the people for Ambazonia? Tell them the story of the Ambazonian people. Tell them for how long we don't be oppressed without anybody listening. Tell them how baby Mata they die. Tell them how Mami Api and die. Tell them about all the 30,000 Ambazonians and where La Republique soldier and they don't kill them. They over 500 villages the way La Republique soldier and they don't burn them for inside Ambazonia. Tell them say this will get more than 4,000 hostages for inside La Republique prisons. Now the story that now the position that for Ambazonia, the Ambazonian position for this international conflict, now our story, no be any side between one country or the other, now our story. So use this opportunity for tell our story for anybody where you care for listen. Express your sympathy for any suffering person around the world, because as a suffering people, we understand their problem. Which way Ukrainian people, they go through the 1 million for ground zero, they don't go through for 5 years and the 6 year ongoing. We not get no direction for when it go stop. Perhaps Ukraine, they know when their own go stop, but our own case is still be far-fetched. And at the time for we for shout, say something the hard way, more than how we would ever shout. Thank you, plenty. This one, Silas, I take for. God bless Ambazonia.